It's that time once again. It's time for the Phil Taylor Jones Show. We're happy to have you with us. I'm your host, Phil Taylor Jones. Today's subject is going to be Ahmed Mohamed, the little 14-year-old kid in Texas who invented a homemade clock and took it into school with him to show his teacher. Well, you know, having been in education for 30 years, and worked with hundreds of thousands of children, I can appreciate what the little kid did in some ways. And then in some other ways, I look at his parents with great scrutiny. The kid made a clock. Well, let's just set this up. This little Ahmed kid was in middle school, and he was known as, you know, this tall, lanky, nerdy kid with the thick rimmed glasses who was always inventing things. For instance, he took some kind of little battery device or something and made a charger for his phone. And, you know, he'd go to school and he would kind of, I guess, tease his other friends that when their phones die out, he still had power for his. And a lot of his friends would actually bring their devices to school and I guess to his home for him to fix. You know, he's good with his hands and, you know, he likes to invent things. Okay, this is middle school. He graduates from middle school and he goes on to senior high school right there in the same town. Okay, no one knows him on the whole. I'm pretty sure some of those middle school students that were in middle school with him filtered over into senior high, but you know, the vast majority of teachers and students didn't know him or his reputation. So then he's still tinkering around, and then he, you know, comes up with this homemade clock, and he shows it to his parents, and he says, "Well, I'm going to take it to school and show my teacher and impress my engineering teacher." And he subsequently did that, and the engineering teacher told him, and now these are his own words from, hold on a minute, from the Sydney Morning Herald World, and he took it to school and he showed it to his engineering teacher, and the engineering teacher told him it was cool and it was really nice, but he admonished him not to show it to any other teachers. Now, here's the problem I have with that part. As I said, I was a former educator for 30 years. If a student of mine had brought something into school that looked as this device did, I would have said, "Yeah, Ahmed, that's cool. You're really, you know, hitting on all 8 cylinders there, buddy. But, you know, with what's going on in today's world, this could be misconstrued as something bad. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to leave it with me, and I'll call your parents to come and pick it up, because we don't want this getting around the school." You know how kids are. They can be mean, and they'll say, "Oh, he's got a bomb." Or maybe one of your teachers, your other teachers who are not in the field of engineering like I am, may misconstrue this as something, you know, strange. You know, the teacher obviously wasn't thinking. Now, speaking of teachers or anyone in the educational field, we are required to report anything of a suspicious nature, whether it be an actual object, a student acting suspiciously, a group of students acting suspiciously. We are required by law to report it. Child abuse, if we see a kid come to school with unusual bruises or marks upon their body, we are required, no guesswork, required by law. And on this abuse thing, we are required to report it within a given time frame. If we're not doing that, our jobs are in jeopardy. So I'm going to say that when he went on, this little Ahmed kid went on to his next class, which was, I guess, English class, he did not heed the warnings of his engineering teacher, took it into English class, obviously didn't turn it off, because at some point the device went off and started beeping. irritating and disrupting the class. So when the English teacher told him to bring it up to see what it was, I guess when he opened it up, you know, and here we go again, this briefcase, raggedy little briefcase looking thing with wires hanging out and a big clock, big, you know, LCD screen and a motherboard, the teacher freaked. Said, that looks like a bomb. No, it's not a bomb, it's a clock. She said, well, it looks like a bomb to me. Her first inclination was what was drilled into her head, or any educator's head, anybody that works at the school, from the plant manager or custodian all the way up to the headmaster, principal. We are required. She did nothing wrong. She called the authorities, probably school police, who in turn called the regular officers, and they came and took the kid out of class and the device. They questioned him there at the school site, and he wasn't very cooperative. He wasn't very forthgiving until they put the clinks on him and took him to the juvenile division of the police department. Then I guess he began to open up a little bit. And then after further investigation of the device and further interrogation of Ahmed, they discovered that he had no intention of trying to frighten or alarm anybody, that it was indeed a little homemade project. And they released him to his parents. End of story. Now, if this had been just that, I wouldn't have any problem with it. But it's all this other stuff that's going on afterwards now. You see, the people, and some of the people in this country, they're more alarming than the Muzzies. They're more alarming than the police. They're more alarming than anything that we could possibly have going on, because it seems like they've lost their minds. The stuff I saw on the national media, or the media that I deal with, Google Plus, some of the comments I saw, they were really ridiculous. And now there's this new word, Islamophobes. Have we forgotten that just last week we mourned the dead of 9/11? We observed the 14th anniversary of that. Let me see. Exactly who was it that got in those planes and ran through the buildings and took down the Twin Towers and the Pentagon? Was it white folks in America? No. It wasn't black folks in America? No. I think it was people of Islamic connections, Muslim extremists that did that. Let's see. Now, if you're so in support of Ahmed Mohamed, the little 14-year-old kid, and his homemade clock, excuse me, I gotta wet my whistle here. It's still kind of hot here in California. Yeah, if you're so much in support of him and his homemade clock, let's run him through the airport. Send him to the airport and see how far he gets there. If he were put in that setting, and the authorities there pulled him out of line because he's got a suspicious looking device, would that video have gone viral? Think, people. Common judgment. If you see something, say if that same homemade clock, this innocent little homemade clock, were found on a public bus, unattended, beeping, would you be as kind-hearted about it then? Or would you get up and run at a leisurely 963 miles an hour because you thought it was a bomb? I don't understand the mentality of supposed American people. When the major subject of the day is security, we don't live in the world that we used to live in prior to 9/11. To be an Islamaphobe is not a bad thing. Some of these people are dangerous to the point of killing you. They don't mind. They like it. It's in their minds that Allah has told them to do this, to get rid of us demons of Satan. A 14-year-old kid? Is he capable of doing something like that? You better believe it. A 4-year-old kid can be trained. I seem to remember an incident somewhere over there in Iraq or Iran or somewhere, where these kids, it was a team of kids, going around blowing people away with assault rifles. Kids. The youngest one, I think, was about 7 or 8 years old. So there is no deterrent for who might be one who might take you out or who might not be. There was a pregnant woman in Islamabad, pregnant with child, strapped a series of bombs around her waist, went into a big mall over there, or a big area where there's a whole lot of people, and cut loose, killing about 680 people. Herself and her unborn child, for the cause. And you think that these people shouldn't have been alarmed when they saw this thing? Again, the police department did nothing wrong. That female English teacher did nothing wrong. Where was this boy's parents? I'm pretty sure they must have, I'm sure they're older than 14 because he's 14. 9/11 happened 14 years ago. So they had to be older than 14 and have him. The feeling about any kind of muzzy in the country right now is not necessarily a good one. Whether you're just a regular everyday muzzy or whether you're a muzzy extremist from ISIL or ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Hezbollah or whatever the hell you want to be from. The tone is not good. And if they had had their thinking caps on, they would have said, Ahmed, sweetheart, lovable one, we applaud you for your, engineering skills. But we as a Muslim family are not really looked upon as somebody that everybody wants to be around, So I would admonish you not to take this bomb-looking like device to school because you may get in trouble. Take some pictures of it maybe and show it to your English teacher. Use your little phone, take some pictures and show it. Then if he wants you to bring it, we will take you and you can show it to him and then we'll take it back home. That's a thinking parent. I, as a black person, know that it's not safe to go in some neighborhoods after dark. We see a big black guy walking around, it sends up red flags. I know that as a black person, that I am hated in this country. So you mean to tell me that they think that, fat meat ain't greasy and that they can do anything they want and it won't come to scrutiny? So, there was a lot of not thinking here. As a 14-year-old kid, I too applaud the guy for, wanting to build things and tinker around and invent. That's cool. I'm not saying anything against that. Okay, his name is Ahmed Mohamed. I'm not saying anything against that because as an educator, I had a lot of Middle Eastern kids and I loved them. They were in my drama department. They were some of my best actors and dancers and choreographers. But what I have a problem with in this case is it's too pat. It's too neat. And when you bring in people like Mark Zuckerberg and Bastard wanting to bring him to the White House, and Slithery Clinton, it just does not pass the smell test. Looks like some kind of setup to me. Think about it. Bastard will do anything to further his sadistic purpose. He's got one sadistic purpose in mind, and that's to bring these Muzzy refugees over here from Syria and other parts of Africa and Iran, where have you. He wants them over here. He's cleared the way. But he's no fool. He knows that a lot of Americans don't care for this, especially on the heels of this Iran debacle. So what does he do? He gets together with Mark Zuckerberg, who is a brand new proclaimed Muslim himself. He's adopted and embraced the Muslim faith. There's pictures of him with a turban on and all this kind of business. He says, let's get something together. And enter this 14-year-old kid who's maybe a pawn in their sadistic game. So did he make a hoax bomb? No, I don't think so. I think the whole damn thing is a hoax. So that everybody in America will now feel a newborn sympathy for Muslims. That they're not bad people, they're smart, inventive people. And indeed they may be. But they also may be Islamic extremists who are ready to build a bomb to blow your butt from here to kingdom come. It's something we don't know for sure. It's like playing the Muslim lottery. Oh, this is a good upstanding Muslim that maybe needs help and we should let him in. But on the second, that may be a bad Muslim extremist that will blow our asses off. You don't know. You know, this one is, hey, I'm a Muslim extremist and I got a bomb. Kapow! Or this one, I'm just a regular run-of-the-mill Muzzy, and you know, I just want to come over here because I'm scared of being where I am, that I might go kapow. You don't know. It's just like every other nut out there in the street. If they wore signs, it would be easy. I'm a nut, stay clear of me. But they look normal. And this teacher, when she saw that, she acted, and she acted in the right way. Can't fault her. Now, another thing I have against this whole thing is, okay, now this kid is getting all this acclaim and FundMe and some other funding organization.
LaunchGood, GoFundMe and LaunchGood.
LaunchGood and GoFundMe.
LaunchGood wants to get $100,000 and GoFundMe is trying to get $60,000 for his tuition.
Almost $200,000 for this kid. He's got parents. They look like they live in a pretty nice house. We've already given them passage in this country from Sudan. Why is it that, you know, these foreigners got to have so much? Now they want to have him come to Twitter and be an apprentice. And then they want to have him come to this place, that place. And, oh, Mr. Bastard wants him to come to the White House. Come on, people. Wake up. This is a farce. You know, and this kid, you know, I think is being exploited by Bastard. That's just my opinion. Because like I said, it's too neat. You know, this happens right after he makes it a clear passage for at least 100,000 of these people to come here to this country. They're rumoring possibly 150,000. And I guess he's trying to smooth it over and make Americans feel, you know, that, oh, I can invite them to the White House. This is just a little kid who's very smart and made a cool clock. And now these other people are taking clocks to school and we're with you, Ahmed, and all this crap. And I guess what, they're going to start a all clocks matter movement now? I mean, this is just over the top lunacy. for, again, disobedience. If this little kid had been obedient and had done what his teacher admonished him to do, we wouldn't hear all of this crapola. He didn't do it. What is it with these foreigners and their just, you know, dogmatic tendency not to follow directives, not to do things that are within the rules or the laws or the regulations or wherever it is they are. They gotta always go against the grain. He obviously didn't do what his engineering teacher, who he claimed wanted to be so proud of him, if he had that much respect for the teacher, then he would have done what the teacher admonished him to do. Turn off the device, clocks beep, brr, turn off the device and keep it under wraps. Don't show it to anybody else. He didn't do that. He left it on, took it to English class, and within that class, thing starts beeping and disrupting the class, and here we are. Like I said, two problems. All of this money coming into him for what? That's his parents' responsibility to send him to college. I'm sure there's a whole lot of other people out there, a lot of different ethnicities out there that are making and inventing little things. Where's their GoFundMe and their LaunchGood? Where's their visit to the White House to meet with old bastard? Where's their 5 minutes or 15 minutes of fame? And they're probably following the rules. They're probably not taking devices to school that would arouse suspicion. But no, this kid goes against the grain by not admonishing or following the admonitions of his teacher, who he claims he had so much respect for. That's why he invented the thing to show him in the first place. And now he feels like he was treated badly, and I was treated inhuman. Well, look, pal, you brought something to school that aroused suspicion. You brought something to school that looked like a bomb in a briefcase. If you look at any movie, any television show, they use a little briefcase. Some of them look brand new, some of them look tattered, but they use a briefcase and they put all the stuff in it that he put in this homemade clock. Because if they don't put a timing device on the bomb, that means you got to be in close proximity with a button or whatever so that you can make it go off. So they put a timer in there so that they can set the bomb and go from here to Key Biscayne, Florida or somewhere, and the bomb goes off at 2 o'clock. Pow! So it looked suspicious. And you were told not to show it, or at least to turn it off, so that it wouldn't arouse suspicion. You didn't do that. You disrupted class, therefore making the teacher have you bring it up to find out what the heck is beeping in her class. She saw it, and she followed protocol. It's your fault. You know, I applaud you too for being smart and innovative and wanting to make things. That's not wrong. But it's sometimes the things that you make that get you in trouble. Suppose you were a physicist, you know, in chemistry class, and they told you not to mix certain chemicals because if you did, you were going to cause an explosion. And you didn't follow that admonition, and you mixed these different chemicals, and blam, you blew up the classroom. You'd still be in trouble because you didn't follow the orders. You didn't follow the admonition. Would you then be invited to the White House? Yeah, you're a smart kid, but sometimes you may be too smart. You got to know when to do something, when not to do something. You got to test the waters to make sure that you don't end up falling in there with the shark. So, you know, the police did nothing wrong with you. They took you down to make sure that you weren't trying to have the pre-workings of making a bomb. We live in a dangerous society. Anything could happen at any given time. There have been threats made to schools. There have been bomb threats made to schools. There have been devices found in schools, pipe bombs, bombs in cans. So when you took something like that to your school with wires hanging out of it and beeping, what did you think they were going to do with you? Send you, candy, hearts and flowers? They did just what they thought. It's their job to keep not only you, but every one of your students, fellow students, and staff safe. So, you need to be careful about what you take to school, little fella. And as for you supposed Americans out there who are now so sympathetic with potential Islamic extremists who don't mind killing you, and now creating your little cutesy word, Islamophobes. If and when one of them comes over here and shoves a bomb up your ass and it blows up, maybe you might wish you were an Islamophobe. Because the trouble is coming, folks. And old bastard cleared the way. If you look at your telly, if you look at your internet, if you read your newspapers, those people in France, in Germany, and in Great Britain, they are not faring so well. I was just looking at a program yesterday where at least about maybe 500 to 600 of them just ran over the police like a freight train. In fact, they were trying to get on a train, and the police were, having a barricade to get them there orderly. They just overran this line of police. Armed police. Body armor, guns, you name it. Overran them. Some of the police even had assault rifles. Overran them. Rushed the train, and they were pulling each other off the train trying to get on. It was pandemonium. Crawling through the windows of a stopped train, ready to pick them up. There are reports of rats, and now all kinds of unsafe, unclean situations caused by all of them because they throw their stuff on the ground, they crap on the ground, they urinate on the ground, and it's just a filthy mess. And it's coming our way. They even shot and killed a terrorist, one of those muzzy extremists that were in the midst of all the rest of them. And how many more will they kill? How many more of these will kill each other? They're unruly. They're stepping all over each other. A baby was killed. One of their own babies, because the kid was trampled to death by them running for a bus. And you create a word like Islamophobe. I tell you, some of these supposed to be American people, they need to be pitied more than criticized. They really do. I feel sorry for them because, it's one thing to be compassionate, but it's another to recognize the rule of self-preservation is the first law of nature. And on that score, I'm very law-abiding. You got to preserve yourself first, and then some other people later. Because as I alluded to earlier about these people just bulldozing the police, if they've got those kinds of balls of steel, then why in the hell didn't they stay over there in Iran and Syria and all these other places they came from and bulldoze Al-Qaeda or bulldoze ISIS? A gun is a gun is a gun. If you can run over the police with that gun, why can't you run over the people in your own country and fight for your land? Instead of running like a whipped dog with your tail between your damn legs into somebody else's country and messed it up. I don't get the mentality of these people. And with that in mind, we're going to close out another Phil Taylor Jones show. Like I said, this Ahmed thing, it doesn't pass the smell test. I think it's, and again, it's just my opinion, but you know, anytime old bastard's name comes up, and especially Slithery Clinton, then I start looking at things with jaded eyes, and that's what I'm looking at with this thing. It's too neat. It's too pat. You know, if I were a police officer, I would, you know, my badge would be tingling at this one. You know, like, I don't trust no bastard. He'll do anything to further his sadistic purpose. Okay, we're right here at Friday, at least the taping of this show. Have a wonderful and safe weekend, and try to remain happy, and you know, try to retain some of your joy. We'll see you next time right here on the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Bye-bye.